Hey guys, what's up? In today's video, we are going to do a full restoration on the brow of this 42-foot Viking. All right guys, so I have been out here working. I did a test spot just to see what the boat needed, and then we're gonna go ahead and get to work. So as you can tell, right here is my test spot. That's where I did it. And then this is before. So I have done a test spot. Now we're gonna walk through everything that we have to do to get this brow looking good. We're gonna go over every single step that I took, every pad that I took. I'm gonna go over my equipment, my harness here. And then also I'm just gonna run some teaching through the whole process. So guys, stick around to the very end, and I think you're gonna get a ton of value out of this. This is gonna be a very fun one. If you don't have a sport fisher, don't think this video is not for you. You will still learn a lot about as far as pads, machines, proper ways to run the rotary. So I'm gonna go through everything, guys. So just watch this video all the way through, even if you don't have a sport fishing boat. Guys, like always, if you get any value out of this, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell notification so every time I post a video, I'll pop up. And that's enough of me talking. Let's go ahead and get to work. First things first, let's go over the brow. This brow right here is gonna be the front half of the boat. So let me hop down real quick off my little rope here. So we're gonna be doing the front half of this boat. If you don't know what a brow is, the brow is going to be the front. A lot of the times the lower area will be painted like black, and that'll actually be called the mask. But it doesn't have a mask on it, so we're just gonna call this whole front section the brow, okay? Most sport fishing boats, these areas get beat up a ton from the sun. It is a giant flat surface in the front of the boat. When the sun is out, like it is right now, it is literally beating down on the brows like crazy. Typically on every single sport fishing boat the front brow is going to be the worst, okay? It's always gonna be the worst, and there is a little bit of oxidation, watermarks that come just from being in the sun. So that's what we're gonna do today. We're out here and we're going to go ahead and do a full restoration on the front brow. One thing you're gonna notice is I'm using 3 machines. It's my 3 must-have machines. You can check the link right here if you don't know these machines, but I'm gonna be using the Rotary. I'm gonna be using my Flex 3401 VRG, and I'm going to be waxing it with my Griot's Garage machine. So let's go ahead and go through some steps. I want to show you some oxidation on this boat. You can definitely see all of that oxidation, all of that cloudiness all in there. And then this is what it's going to look like when we are finished up. One thing to note when you are doing the upper portion, you know, of the front of the boat, the upper portion of the brow, is you never want to do a step and then go kneeling and standing all over it, okay? So a couple things I want you guys to watch in this video, okay? Watch one, how I'm doing it, okay? As far as cutting it in line. I don't know if you can see it on camera right now. I have a line right here of compound, okay? See that line of compound? Basically, I put a line all the way down the center of this boat, okay? And what that line does is that tells me how far to go down. And then I do all of my steps. So I do my compounding steps, my polishing steps, and then my waxing steps, and then I'm done, and then I move down. So we basically do all the steps in stages. That is going to take you a little bit more time than just doing the whole front brow of one step, doing the whole second brow. But I have found in doing this for years that if you do the full brow and then you go back up top and then you're rubbing on it, you're kneeling on it, you'll see me, I'm actually on the brows. You're gonna scratch it, you are going to put more swirl marks in it. It's best, guys, just to do a full section of cross where you're not standing, do all the steps, get it completely done, finish it, and then work your way down in stages. That's the best bet. That's gonna give you the best results. It's gonna take a little bit more time, but you will get the best results doing that. Let's go ahead and get to work. Before we hop into the full tutorial video, I want to go over the Rotary Polisher. This is my Makita Rotary Polisher, and I'm going to do our 2 main cutting steps. So the first 2 steps in the process are going to be with this Rotary Polisher, and then we move to our 3401 VRG. What you'll notice here is that I'm first using a double-sided medium cut white wool pad on the rotary machine. This pad is going to be the heavy cut pad that we're going to use on our first 2 steps. This rotary machine is a very, very powerful cutting machine, and this is what we're going to use to be doing our cutting. Now, I want you guys to really pay attention to my pattern, okay? Because if you don't do the pattern correctly, your entire finish and everything that you do is just not going to work. Watch how I'm doing my pattern, the side to side,
up and down, side to side, up and down, and then I finish with one last side to side. So if you follow that same pattern for the entire video, the rest of the video is going to be time-lapsed. Just see how slow I'm actually going and how slow my arm speed is. And this is the exact pattern you want to do for step 1, step 2, and step 3. The only difference is on the third step is that we are using the Flex 3401 VRG. Also, on my first 2 passes, my side to side and my first up and down, I'm only running the machine at about 900 RPMs. That's relatively slow, and later on in the video, I'll explain why. And on my second 2 passes, I'm then bumping it up to about 1200 RPMs, and that's it. You should never have to go over 1500 RPMs at the very, very most. So our first step here is Ardex Super 600 on a white wool pad, running it at 900 to 1200 RPMs. Our first 2 passes of the up, down, and side to side are going to be at about 900 RPMs, and then we're going to crank it up to about 1200 RPMs and do our second and third up, down, side to side. I always like to start off kind of slower on my first 2 passes and then bump it up a little bit because it helps it just finish out the product just that much easier. Then we're going to move over to our second step with our Menerna 400 on another but the same white wool pad, and this is just going to remove the scratches that the Ardex Super 600 puts. This is a very crucial step because if you don't do this step properly, the foam pad really won't even make a difference because the Super 600 is going to put too heavy of scratches in. So you really have to make sure you do every single step perfect or you're going to be wasting your time. You'll notice here that I am running it now at about 1000 to 1500 RPMs because Menerna 400 is a variable grit compound, which means that it's a compound, but when it heats up, it actually turns into a polish. So I do like to run it a little faster. You just get a little bit of a better finish that way. Now we're going to move on to our third step. This is going to be Menerna 400, now on the 3401 VRG Flex and the gray Lake Country foam pad. This is a heavy cut foam pad and it's going to be perfect for white gel coat boats. If you do have a color gel coat, I would recommend you either use the white or the orange Lake Country pad, but for right now I really like the gray because it just adds a little bit more cutting power to remove any swirls that the first 2 polishers did. Notice that I'm using my climbing gear and I'm only doing the top half of this brow. You can see right now that I'm kneeling on the brow, so if I did the full brow and then you go kneeling on it, you're going to re-scratch it. So that's why I do it in sections. I do the top half first, then we're going to move down to the second lower half of the same brow.
We are officially done with our top half. I did all the correction steps. Normally I would wipe it now with alcohol or like Dawn and water and then wax it, but actually on this boat I am able to kind of stand on the lower portion here and then reach up there with the waxer. You don't have to put a lot of pressure on it, just I can do it with one hand. So that's what I'm gonna do. So it's just gonna save a little bit of time because, you know, it's always best if you can save times. Now that I'm done with the correction of the top half, now we're gonna move and start doing the bottom half correction. And then once it's all done, then we're gonna wash it and then we're going to seal it up with Jescar. Let's stop the video real quick. I noticed that my buffer was kind of bumping, kind of like grabs and kind of bumps and twists on you like that. That's usually a pure sign that your pad needs to be cleaned. I don't know if you could see the pad pretty matted on there. It's supposed to be fluffy, kind of like the sides right here, but it's real matted. You see how matted that is? So what we want to do is clean it. So let's go ahead and knock that out. All right guys, to wash these pads once they get funky, all you really need is your pad and a water hose or a pressure washer will work just fine. All you gotta do is just spray it off real good. All right, so now that it's completely, you know, all the compound is gone, you can see right here. Now let's go ahead and dry it. All right, so all we gotta do to dry it is just put your pad back on the rotary. This is about to sling all of the water out of the pad, so make sure you're not around anything that can't get wet. So I like to just kind of get low with it and let her rip. Now once you have your pad, I just like to run my hand in it real quick, refluff it up, and now look at that. She's brand new. Let's get back to work. We are completely finished with our correction process. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go ahead and wash it with some Dawn. Dawn is gonna strip off any oils that are left over from the polishes. There's always oils like this. Guys, you'll wash it, it'll bead off because the polishes have fillers, and even though they say they don't have fillers, but they're gonna have silicones and that kind of thing. So we wanna get all that crap off before we wax it, because when we seal it, we want it to actually seal the gel coat. And if we don't wash it with Dawn, or if you don't strip the oils from the polish and everything off, you're not actually going to be sealing anything. You're going to be trapping those oils, and then your wax or your sealant's going to be gone within a few days. So you want to always make sure that you wash it with Dawn or wipe it with alcohol to get that stuff off. And it should look like this when you're done with the Dawn. So that's the importance of doing the Dawn before we go ahead and seal it up. Got it washed off. We hit it with the Dawn. We got everything washed. Next step is going to be dry it. There's kind of two ways you could do this. You can use microfiber rags, or you can get you one of these Sure Hold chamois mops. I'll link it down below. These are great. They're kind of expensive, but they do help with spreading the water around and just drying, and it's a super easy way. Be really careful because you can scratch it with this. All right, so if you go wow, you know, real fast, you can definitely scratch it. Just watch kind of how slow I go, and just take your time and you know, just get it dried up real nice. You definitely want to dry it though, and not let it air dry, because you can see watermarks come back, and we don't want any of that. So let's go ahead and get her dried. All right, so we got it all dried up. Let's go ahead and just take a look at everything to make sure there's no more compounds left. There's no more anything like that left. We want it to be perfectly slicked off so we can go ahead and seal her up. We got the front completely sealed up. We're gonna go ahead and let it dry for 30 minutes. You have to let Jescar dry for 30 minutes. The best case scenario is I like to do a coat and then let it sit for at least an hour or so, or come back the next day and then do a second coat. So that's actually what I'm going to do on this boat. The cool thing about Jescar is you can layer it. So you can do one coat, 2 coats, 3 coats, and then you could also top it with the wax. That's the cool thing about Jescar. It is made and is designed to be layered, and the more coats you have, obviously the more protection you got. While we're waiting for the Jescar to dry, let's go over my climbing gear that keeps me safe doing this boat. So one thing to note is I am not a professional rock climber. So this gear is actually rock climbing gear. I did go to my local store and buy it just because I had no idea what I needed. I kind of told them what I was doing, and they were like, hey, you could probably use this gear. So they sold it to me, and it has probably been the greatest thing that I've bought for my company as far as doing front brows and big sport fishers. I've literally can hang off the side of anything I want with these clips. So first thing is going to be your rope right here, and it always ties off. Always tie it off on something very sturdy. I like to tie it off on the tuna towers because, you know, those aren't gonna go anywhere. Don't ever tie it to anything that's bolted. Quick disclaimer, if you watch this video and you go tie it and you fall off and hurt yourself, can't come after me. Tie off, climb, work, detail at your own dang risk, all right? First thing is going to be this mechanism right here. This is called a gree-gree. It is super cool because not only does it lock you, you can actually have a throttle on it. So this right here is a throttle that when you want to go down, you pull it backwards and it actually slowly releases you down. So first things first is get this carabiner, and hey guys, I have everything listed below so you don't have to like keep notes or anything. So first things first, we're gonna put the carabiner, you hook it to your belt like so. All right. This little red button right here where my thumb is, that little red button is called the red ring of death, supposedly. So you want to tie it down where you don't see it, because now this is locked in. All right, and the cool thing about this, so this is kind of your line that's going up is going through, and then you have your other end. Now all you got to do is when you want to walk, you just pull it out like so. All right, and you can just basically put yourself wherever you want to go. All right. This mechanism is super cool because as you can see, I'm just chilling up here right now, and this has got me locked in. This is our throttle, okay? So if you go and you buy just a rope lock, it won't have a throttle on there, and you can't actually control when you want to go down and when you go down. It basically just is a safety mechanism, so when you fall, it'll stop you, which is good. That's better than nothing. But this product right here, if I fall, it catches me, or if you just put weight against it, it catches me. So right now, I'm on this and it's catching me. And look, all I have to do when I want to go down is I just pull this throttle back and it lets me go down, and that's it. All right, so it's super cool. You pull this little throttle and I can go backwards, and then when I want to go back up, all you got to do is walk up, pull your slack like this, and then you just put your weight back on it, and that's it, guys. So as you can see, I'm tied off on the tuna tower up here, and you know, it's pretty straightforward. I have the links for everything down below. You know, so there's really not much to go on it. Get your carabiner, get your rope, your harness, your carabiner right here, the gree, and the rope, and that's all you need. So we are officially completely done. Got the front brow. It's been a long day. This job, I'd say overall took me about probably 5 hours to do. You know, I didn't even take a lunch break today. I just kept going and going and going. So we got the upper half, the top brow completely finished up. We did 2 steps of compounding, 1 step of polish, and then we sealed it with our Jescar. So guys, if you got any value out of this, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and look forward to more videos. We'll see you next time.